think there's still light. So, what are you guys going to say in class? Hello. Who does this class? What are you going to say in class? Jesus. But the point is, glycolysis. This is what Jesus. Jesus.
Yes.
This cell.
Yes.
You get there this cell.
Yes.
Are you supposed to this cell? Some department have taken protein. I thought BCM2 one is a general course for everybody. So why is that some department? I don't know. So you are saying that some people have done protein, some have done carbohydrates. So at the end of the day, like this thing, so they believe that you guys have done protein. They believe that you guys have done carbohydrates. What about acid and base, things like that? You guys have not done it. How many sets students are there? Everybody is CHS. Okay. So this is what's going to happen. So I'm going to start with carbohydrates with you guys. So in later class, when set people are around, you know what I'm saying? We do WhatsApp because it is majorly for you guys out there. You know what I'm saying? But majorly for you guys here in CHS, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, enzymes, vitamins, and things like that. So that if you don't waste precious time. You get what I'm saying? Please read our cell. Or should I say teach you said? No. At least you know the meaning of mitochondria, know the meaning of
You can just explain those mitosis.
You did teach mitosis and meiosis. They will not take you cell division now. That one is the physiology. When you are dealing with cell life, spermatogenesis, oogenesis, and less than that. So they can't teach you that about chemistry. It's not in the scope of biochemistry taking mitosis and meiosis. You know what I'm saying? What they are still going to teach you is water. When you are going to talk about buffer solutions, when they will talk about the type of acids that are available and when other things are, but they have not taught you water, right? Okay. So let's start with carbohydrates. No, they are just playing with your BCM. Oh God. Jesus. They are playing with your BCM. Huh? Where we start today, because you guys have not really understand what is inside that BCM. And let me tell you something, BCM lecturers do not have time to take you guys. To be honest, they're always busy. They're always busy. I don't know if they are I don't even know if they are politicians or something, but they're always busy. What's their job? Ask them, man. What's their job? Go and ask them. What's their job? What I'm trying to say is that the teach they don't teach you. I think they need to know that. Yes, sir. They did. They gave me someone said one missing from another place. That was yeah, they gave you guys PDF. And the moment they gave you PDF, it is expected of you that whatever topic is that PDF. Yes, and why and so. The job site is still not provided. You know what I'm saying? And I really appreciate that they reach so you guys can read any. So don't expect them to come and teach you. Rather than 1 week to exam, I just come, explain some little things, evaluate in place, present it that, living in place, come to exam. So you guys don't know that the chemistry are until you enter exam. But they don't even do this. I don't think they do this.
We did test.
On BCM.
BCM.
207.
203.
BCM 203, yeah. Oh, Agbako course money. I get Agbako, I'm sure. Of course, I'm going to say BCM 203, yeah. When we start BCM 203, you understand. No, it's not their fault. Listen, you are talking about knowing how to teach. You cannot be teaching. I've seen some BCM lecturers taking ESI, entrepreneurship. So they are all. They are the thing is that I don't think they don't understand. Don't get me wrong. Let me tell you something. You might know something, but for you to pass the information to her, you may understand what you are passing. But for you to clearly pass the information to this person, she may not understand. That's the different.
Wrong information, different from the what she said in PDF.
I'm not sorry.
You see that one. So what you said in BGM.
I'm not. We are live. And I'm on YouTube like please. Don't. I'm not. Please, they know what they are doing. Please. So why you are here is for you to understand the whole process. Do you understand? You know, the thing is, I let me ask you, let me give you a typical question. When you went out for a year or for Christmas, you chop chicken, chop goat meat, chop goat. And you made a video come. So that's the problem. You can't expect, fine, it's their job, they have kids, they have grandkids, they do things, they do that. Because I have actually found a way to make things easy during learning. Do you understand? That's why the stress of the world is not actually encompassing what we actually learn. Do you understand? Those people, they want to become professors, they want to become PhD. Do you understand? They are writing journals. Most of the engineering stuff. Do you understand? So that's why you see that when it comes to a stage, they will send junior lecturers come and teach you because they are fresh in this sense. Do you understand? So, and to be honest, it's not anybody that knows how to teach or even knows to teach. But since there are no other alternative out there, they just have to take the teaching course. Do you understand? Me now, fine, I don't like to lecture in any fucking way, to be honest, because the pay is not good. I cannot be sitting down with 300,000 outside, but the thing is that me, I like to teach. Do you understand? So if I become a lecturer, you will see the difference. Let me give you a simple example. Dr. Wudi, that's a simple example. He likes to teach because he is very good. He grooms himself. You know what I'm saying? So you cannot expect anybody to have a beginner. It's not possible. Yes, you have other lecturers in training, but why don't you ever Oh no, Jesus. And that's how life is. Definitely. We have so many things like that. So your own job is not to look at how the lecturer is teaching. Your own job is just get whatever he say and go and do your business. That's your job. You understand? Oh, my lecture. I'm going to go. Oh, I'm going to say, I'm going to school. Hello, car.
Okay.
You know that when we had this and this together, we get this. When we had this and this, do you understand? No. Okay, you understand. Let's continue. Number. How many teachers? I'm a lecturer now. What I'm let's do is to guide. Have you? But I didn't guide me. It's only people that have passion. They will not say, okay, after guiding, let me teach. Do you understand? And you get me? Why? Because people do not even see the importance of this thing. If let's say parameter you are in that book, the HOD first, God bless Professor Silva, God bless the professor on the seat. Wọ́n á ti wọ́n fẹ́ orientate tí wọ́n lọ́kọ́ ti dé class wọ́n ní genius ọ̀mọ̀wé tẹ́yẹ́yẹ́ sí ìgbé ọ̀mọ̀wé tẹ́yẹ́yẹ́ sí is for you. Wọ́n ti wọ́n kọ́ ti gbọ́ ẹ̀ ní HOD wọ́n ní ọdún tuntun láàbọ̀ àbáyé ó lò ó. When I was in toilet, I went to almost 3 different tutorials. I read Benida, I read Vast Divan, I read Vuet, I read manuals. Àwọn àjàkú ìwé tí mo rí, mo sáré pé biochemistry sáwà lórí ẹ̀ máa kà. That was how I was developing myself. Ní ìmọ̀ nígbà yẹn, a kò ń gbé orí, à ń ṣe iṣẹ́ àṣà. But that was how I was developing myself because the way they introduce the course books. Oh, tí ìrírí sísè ọ̀rá bẹ̀rẹ̀ pé who's called that again? I'm going to extra. Oh, they think that a personal singer. I'm serious. All those kind of things. But yeah, they will always try to shadow. And the thing is that I would like you guys to go and investigate how this name was from journalists. And look, sir, you what department? Anatomy. Kí ló kọ anatomy rẹ̀ bí ìlú ìgbìmọ̀? Bàtà rẹ̀ kí ló ìjà sí ìgbìmọ̀? Very true. Yeah, very true. Come on, you. Master, there's one guy. I think one guy wanted to do like this in anatomy. Their legs. Ask them. How was this year? 2 3. How was this year? 2 months. Yeah. When they now orientate you don't understand what the course is doing. Everything I'm better is called for tutorial. In LAUTECH, they take person stay at home. Jókòó sílẹ̀. Tó ìyá structure, tó ìyá 20 amino acid. Oh, you want it? They play. Oh yeah, let's start. Let's start whatever you want to start, Dari, please. So I will drop the live here. We can start. Archive chat. I'll come here. Let me drop it here too. Okay. So I believe we can start now. Very good. Let me see how this can be benefit. Who is on my group, please? Can you check the link I put on the group? Please let me check if it's working. Can you see the link? It's working, right? Okay, good. I want to check, is the positioning okay for the board? It's okay, right? Can you see the board from there? You can see the board, right? What is it? Okay, you can see the board very well. Okay, good. Now, okay, so let's start. So today's class, we are going to be starting with carbohydrates. carbohydrates. What I say? Now let's start. Carbohydrates will do, and it will cover 50 to 60% of your question in the exam. Even in BCM 203, this is the basis of what you're going to be doing in BCM 203. Carbohydrates metabolism, glucose metabolism. Yes. Yes. Yes, this is 201. BCM 201. You cannot, if you don't know the chemistry and functions of carbohydrates, you cannot understand BCM 203. That way, so you're right. You must first understand this part first. If I don't teach people this part, you cannot really get what I'm doing. Do you know what I'm saying? So, if you're doing BCM 203, be very, very attentive in BCM 201 class. Do you know what I'm saying? Very good. Now, so other carbohydrates, do you know what I'm saying? Major things that we're going to be looking at is the chemistry, that is the structure and functions of what? Of carbohydrates. We're going to be looking at the various functions of carbohydrates, the various structures of carbohydrates, and the various reactions what? In carbohydrates. You guys. So now let's start. Now, when you hear the word carbohydrates, listen very carefully. Now, it can be splitted into two. Now, the word carbo means carbon. Are you listening? And what hydrate means what? H2O. Are you listening? So, therefore, I can easily say that the literal meaning, please, I want to ask you a question. What's the meaning of literal meaning? Huh? Plain meaning. Like when you see that particular word, what it should mean. Are you there? So, the literal meaning of carbohydrate simply means hydrated carbon. That is, carbon that H2O has what? Has been added. Do you understand? That's why you will notice that the empirical formula or the general formula for carbohydrate is form of Cl, H2O, and what? And N. That is, we are adding water to what? To carbon. Hydrated carbon. So are you getting something here? We call this what? Hydrated what? Hydrated carbon. So are you getting something here? So now, so the literal meaning of carbohydrate simply means hydrated carbon. Now, from this empirical formula here, you will notice that my carbohydrates consist of three major elements. What are they? Anytime you are hearing the word carbohydrates, three major elements must be involved. Carbon, hydrogen, and what? And oxygen. What I said? Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Even though there are some other elements, are you there, that can be attached, such as things like nitrogen, such as things as your sulfur, such as things like your phosphate group, and many other elements like that. But anytime you see the word carbohydrates, if these three elements or one of these elements is missing, carbohydrates cannot exist. You get the point now? So your carbohydrate consists of three major elements: your carbon, your hydrogen, and what? And oxygen. Please, do you get what I'm saying? Shout to the father. We are still cool, right? Now, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So now, let's now go back to the definition of carbohydrate. How do you understand carbohydrates? Where is carbohydrate actually gotten from? Now, I want to ask you a question. When you hear the word carbohydrate, what will the first thing you say? Lady come. Let's start with you. When you hear the word carbohydrate, tell me, what would be the first thing or the first two sentences? Let's say, write a beautiful essay on carbohydrates. What would be your first two lines? Something concise, something straightforward. Give me your first two lines. Apart from good, energy giving food, okay. What is it? Starchy foods, okay. Damn, sorry. Source of energy. Now, the first thing I will first say is that what? Carbohydrates, are you there? Serve as the major life source of all living things on earth. Do you know why? Plants can, on the food chain, the plant is below, right? That supplies food to all higher food chains. Yes or no? Listen. Are you there? Plants, we have plants, right? And plant is at the lower bottom of the food chain. Yes or no? Because it's the plant that supplies the primary what supply or the primary producer of food for every living thing on this earth. But how do they produce the food? Through the process of what? Photosynthesis. And when plant uses inorganic materials, such as, let's say, the chlorophyll, your carbon, and your what? And your CO2, right? Yes or no? They use inorganic material. What do they make? They make carbohydrates, starch. I mean, that's the essential thing. It is this energy in form of starch that other living things can consume and can bring about continuity of what? Of life. It simply means no carbohydrates, no plants. No plants, no living beings. So you can easily say that carbohydrate is a source of life. Hello, are we getting something? And it is majorly produced. What's the primary producer of carbohydrates? Plant. Through the process of what? Photosynthesis. It's a story now. Story I never read. That's it. Okay, photosynthesis. There are two major stages. What are they? Can't tell. The light stage and what? And the dark stage. Now, what happens during the light stage? You can't tell me. This is H2O, right? This is the shining sun. Because they can ask you, what's the effect of the sun? Are you there? In energy, when you start doing energy, whatever, energy biochemistry, are you there? Energetics, they will ask you the usefulness of the sun. You know that without the sun, you know what I'm saying now? There is nothing like living things. Like these whole earth, this whole supporting system cannot exist without the sun. You know why? Because sun is like the ATP or the energy delivery source in which your plant produces what they call what? Food. You know what I'm saying? Without the sun, your plant cannot produce food. And without food, nothing can exist in this world. You know what I'm saying? Now, the sun shines, solar rays, right? What happens? It goes down to H2. Now, what happens to H2? It splits that H2 in form of what? H plus and what? And O2 minus, right? This O2 minus forms what they call what? Oxygen. That's given as what? As bygas. Now, this H plus here, when H plus wants to be formed, listen very carefully, we have H here. Now, hydrogen has how many electrons? Huh? H plus.
It's not to be original. It's not H plus and H from H2O.
I know H plus, but oxygen no matter form, not OH. Because oxygen will be given us as what? As byproduct. So are you with oh yeah, because also it be normal. But we are not doing normal reaction. We are doing photolysis. That's what good. Now, what am I trying to say? Now, if you look at your hydrogen, are you there? Consists of only one electron, right? And you understand that anytime an atom changes from a neutral form to its positive air, what happens? Will it gain or lose electron? Lose electron. So therefore, if it becomes H plus, what happens? It loses what? One electron. Or there might be addition of electron to a particular substance when I'm going to give it reduction. So that anytime adding hydrogen ions, when you are going to be seeing very, very well in what? In CO2, when you are dealing with carbohydrate metabolism. Anytime you're adding hydrogen ions, you're not necessarily adding hydrogen ions. What you're adding are what? Are the electrons produced. Because reduction simply means gain of what? Of electrons. And oxidation simply means loss of electrons. So when I say that I'm adding hydrogen, what am I adding? Electrons. Hello, are you getting something? And when I say I'm losing hydrogen, what am I losing? Electrons. That's why I say that loss of hydrogen is not as what? Oxidation, and addition of hydrogen is not as what? Reduction. Please, are we following? Hope we are all following. We are all following, right? Good. Hold on. like this. Now, so now what happens is that after the formation of this hydrogen plus, right? This hydrogen plus will go to a multiple molecule known as what? NAD plus. Do you understand? Now, when this hydrogen reacts with this NAD plus, it forms what we call NADPH. Now, the major reason of forming NADPH is that during the dark stage, right? Now we have what we call CO2. You understand? So your CO2 will be added with hydrogen to now form what? CH2O, which is what? The basis of what? Of starch formation. So are you with me? And this is where we are getting all our carbohydrates from. Is that you understand? This is where we are getting all our carbohydrates from. Yes.
Is research from that NPH.
What I'm saying is that when this NADPH is just used in when you want to form a particular substance, right there, and you want to have what we call a reduction reaction. You know what I'm saying? You can use this NADPH to perform your reduction reaction. Now, your CO2 will be reduced by what? By NADPH to form what we call CH2O. Are you there? That's why your plant takes in CO2 and then give out what? Oxygen. And that's why they say that, okay, it's very good to have flowers around you so that more of oxygen can be taken off and more of CO2 can be taken back by the what? By the plant. You got to see that. So this is just the whole basis, the source. So the major source for carbohydrates is what? Is your plant source. Do you get what I'm saying? So now, let's just say that how can we then define carbohydrates? Are you with me? How can we now define carbohydrates? Now let's say definition of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates can be defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde. Carbohydrates can be defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde. Carbohydrates can be defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketones. Carbohydrates can be defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde or what? Or ketones or compounds. Okay. That when broken down, or compounds, when broken down during the process of hydrolysis, or compounds, when broken down during the process of hydrolysis, or compounds, when broken down during the process of hydrolysis, can form this polyhydroxyaldehyde, or polyhydroxyketones. Can form these polyhydroxyaldehyde or what? Or polyhydroxyketones. Now, what am I saying? Now, listen very, very carefully. Yeah. You don't need to stress. So you guys should just listen. Now, when we are dealing with what? Carbohydrate, we say that carbohydrate simply means polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketone. What does it mean? That means you are looking at an aldehyde compound or a ketone compound that contains as many hydroxy groups as what? As possible. So let's say, for example, I have C2H to double bond O. This is an aldehyde functional group. Yes, sir. And I have R to C double bond O to what? To R. This is what? A ketone functional group. Now, when I now notice that this aldehyde compound, are you there, is not having hydroxy group. It's not having what? Hydroxy group. This is not so polyhydroxy. Why? Many hydroxy group. Do you understand now? So anytime you have an aldehyde compound or a ketone compound that contains as many hydroxy group as possible, what do you call that? Aldehyde or polyhydroxy ketone, known as what? Carbohydrates. Now let me give you a typical example. A typical example is glucose and fructose. Are you there? You know that your glucose and fructose are example of what? Of monosaccharide. Yes or no? Yes. Now listen very carefully. When you're talking about polyhydroxy or polyhydroxy ketone, you are simply referring to monosaccharides. Yeah. Now, you should know that there are higher classifications of what? Of carbohydrates, such as your oligosaccharide, listen very, very carefully, and such as your polysaccharide. Now, example of your oligosaccharides are your disaccharides. Now, let me give you a simple example. Things like your sucrose. I just want you to understand this very, very carefully. Things like your what? Like your sucrose. Now, if you have your sucrose with you now, your sucrose contains glucose plus what? Plus fructose. Are you there? Now, if I add H2O to it, that's the name of hydrolysis. Using H2O, that is water, to break down a substance. And a typical example of hydrolysis reaction, you can actually tell, is digestion. Okay? Digestion. Another example is what? Addition of dilute acid. Okay? Addition of what? Dilute acid to a substance are all examples of what? Of hydrolysis reaction. When you hear the word dilute acid, it simply means that you are adding H2O. You understand that? You understand that? But when you hear the word concentrated, let's say it is concentrated. What's the meaning of concentrated acid? What's the function of concentrated acid in chemistry? It's serve as well to remove water, a dehydrating agent. So when you hear the word dilute acid, I'm adding water to what? To a substance. That is hydrolysis reaction. When you hear the word conc acid, for example, conc H2SO4, know that conc H2SO4 is a hygroscopic what? Substance, right? That is a dehydrating agent. Omaphonichrome substance, it will not add water to that particular what? Substance. Is that what I'm saying? So now I'm saying that when I add H2O to glucose plus fructose, which is what? My sucrose, right? What happens? There's a bond that connects glucose with fructose. Right? That bond is known as what? Glycosidic bond. Glycosidic bond. Okay. Now, when H2O comes in, it will break this glycosidic bond in such a way that it will form glucose and what? And fructose. Now, this glucose is known as what? Polyhydroxy, and this fructose is known as what? Polyhydroxy ketones. That's why I say that carbohydrates are also molecules, that when they are broken down, they can form a polyhydroxy or they can form a what? A polyhydroxy ketone. Listen, if that molecule cannot be broken down in such a way that only form things like glucose, things like fructose, things like that is a polyhydroxy what? Aldehyde, it simply means that that particular molecule is not a what? A carbohydrate. Okay? Because the end product of all carbohydrates is what? Is monosaccharide. Do you understand? So if that particular molecule cannot form a monosaccharide, that is, it is not a what? A carbohydrate. Please, are you getting the definition of what I'm giving to you? Polyhydroxy or polyhydroxy ketones are simply referring to as what? As monosaccharides. But compounds that can what? That can be broken down to yield this polyhydroxy or polyhydroxy ketones. These are known as things like your oligosaccharides and your what? And your polysaccharides. For example, now starch. If you eat starchy food, maybe it's the week or last week, I go to Mugari. So what will be the end product of that gari? Or is it just gari that just enter your bloodstream? Okay, then what will be the end product of this? glucose. And what's the glucose? A polyhydroxyaldehyde. Because that gari can bring glucose as the end product. That's why gari can be classified as what? As a carbohydrate. Do you know what I'm saying? Check all over. Now this is very, very interesting. Let's go back to chemistry. If I oxidize an aldehyde compound, let's remember this. If I oxidize an aldehyde compound, what will it do? If I oxidize an aldehyde compound, what will it do? What is it? Alkanoic acid. Carboxylic acid. Are you understanding? So now let's say now I want to reduce an aldehyde functional group. What would I do? If I reduce an aldehyde functional group or a ketone functional group, what would I do? Alkanol. And are you with me? So now, and if the major functional group in carbohydrates are aldehydes and ketones, are you there? It simply means that I can oxidize this particular thing, right, to form acid, right? And I can also reduce this particular thing to form what they call what? Alkanols. That means that the definition can still be what? Be moved a little bit further. Are you there? That's right. Carbohydrates can also be further defined. Carbohydrate can also be further defined as polyhydroxy acid, put in bracket, sugar acids. Acids, polyhydroxy acids, put in bracket, sugar acids, as polyhydroxy acids, put in bracket, sugar acids, put in bracket, sugar acids, are you there? Or polyhydroxy alcohol, or polyhydroxy alcohol, put in bracket, sugar alcohol. Now you see, that means that your sugar can be in form of alcohol, can be in form of what? Acids, can be in form of what? Aldehydes, and can also be in form of what? Ketones. Let me tell you something. You are still going, you are still moving, right? So, are we getting something? Share see the fact. Good. So, carbohydrate means what? Polyhydroxy or polyhydroxy ketones or polyhydroxy acids or polyhydroxy alcohol or compounds that can yield them on hydrolysis. Yes. Now, from the definition of carbohydrates, how many important functional groups do we have? Two. What are they? Aldehyde functional group and what? Ketone functional group. And they are collectively known as what? They are collectively known as what? Carbonyl groups. Carbonyl group. That is, compounds that contain the what? The C-double bond O. So you can hear. So that means the C-double bond O is what? Is a major functional group. The position of this C-double bond O is what makes it an aldehyde or what? Or a ketone. But the C-double bond O is what? Is the major function. That is the carbonyl what? Carbonyl group. Is the major functional group that exists in carbohydrates. Right? That's right. Or did you just that? No, okay, that's right. Based on the definition above, there are two major functional groups. There are two major functional groups in carbohydrates. Which are the aldehyde functional group, put in brackets, CHO or C-double-bond-OH. The aldehyde functional group, put in brackets, CHO or C-double-bond-OH. Are you there? And the ketone functional group. Put in brackets here, R to C double bond O to R or RCOR. Are you there? Which are collectively known which are collectively known, which are collectively known, which are collectively known, are you there? Which are collectively known as the carbonyl groups, which are collectively known as what? As the carbonyl group. Put in bracket C-O, which are collectively known as what? As the carbonyl group. Are we there? Which are collectively known as what? As the carbonyl group. Which are collectively known as the carbonyl. Are we learning something? Shout it over. Are you guys sure? Can I continue? Okay. The empirical formula of all carbohydrates, now what's the meaning of empirical formula? I can't hear you, please. What's the meaning of empirical formula? I can't hear you. When you hear the word empirical formula, what does it mean? The simplest formula, right? The simplest ratio of formula, right? That's what it is. So now, the empirical formula of all carbohydrates is CnH2 0N. Are you there? This is what? This is the empirical formula. Come up with empirical formula. This is the simplest formula that bring about all other carbohydrates in what? In nature. Do you understand that? For example, now glucose is 6 carbon compound. If it's 6 carbon compound, you're getting C6 H2O with what? With 6. C6 H12O6. Do you understand that? If it is 5, C5 H10O5. You can see that the ratio of H and oxygen will always give you what? H2O. Now you get something. Check on the buffer. What's in the buffer? Okay. Now, that's right. There are three major elements. Okay. There are three major elements present in carbohydrates. There are three major elements present in carbohydrates. And they include the first one. What's the first one here? Carbon. The second one is what? Hydrogen. And the third one is what? Oxygen. These are the three major elements. Because they can ask you in the exam. What are the three major elements of what? Of carbohydrate. What are they? Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Are you listening? Now, let's now look at the minor elements. Right there? Minor elements simply means that sometimes these elements can be attached to carbohydrates, right there, in forming special forms of what? Of carbohydrates. Are you feeling? These elements can what? Can be attached to carbohydrates in forming what? Special types of what? Of carbohydrates. Do you get what I'm saying? So the first one includes nitrogen. Are you there? In formation of what? Of amino sugars or N-acetylated sugars. When you add nitrogen to what? To carbohydrates, you are going to form what they call what? Amino sugars or what? Or N-acetylated what? Sugars. What are you saying? For example now, e.g., let's say we have glucosamine or we have N-acetylated glucosamine. Another example includes manosamine. Another example includes galactosamine. And you can also have the N-acetylated form. N-acetylated manosamine. I'm going to have what? N-acetylated galato what? Galatosamine. Just like that.
Are they all attached to nitrogen?
Yes.
So,
Minosamine, galatosamine. What is it?
nitrogen to be this amino.
Yes. Or N-acetylated sugar. So they can either form amino sugars or they can be further acetylated. The formula called N-acetylated what? Sugars. So these amino sugars or N-acetylated sugar is due to the presence of what? Of nitrogen. You can say that. Are you with me? Minosamine. Galatosamine. Are you seeing now? So we have minosamine and we have what they call what? Galatosamine. So are you getting something? So please listen very, very carefully. Now, the second element, sulfur. We have what we call sulfur. You understand now? So now, when you're dealing with sulfur, now you can have what we call sulfated sugar. What I say? Sulfated sugar. Are you there? Now, your sulfated sugar is majorly seen in glycolipids. What I say? Glycolipids. And where are glycolipids found? In your cell membranes. Know that in your cell membrane, it contains of two major components: the lipid bilayer and what? And the protein component, right? And if you are talking about lipid in the cell membrane, we call it membrane lipids. When you are dealing with lipid chemistry of lipids, we are going to be talking about membrane lipids. And when you are dealing with proteins, we are going to be talking about membrane proteins. Your integral membrane protein and your peripheral membrane proteins. But I'm saying it, physiology. When you are dealing with active transport, because it's your integral membrane proteins that is involved in active transport. Do you know what I'm saying now? And what are the type of transport that you have? Active and passive, right? Another the passive, what are they? We have simple diffusion, passive diffusion, osmosis, what about endocytosis and phagocytosis? Are you with me now? Very good. Now, also, under active pump, what do you have? Yes, under active transport. Anaerobic. Active transport. Anaerobic. That's why we are going to be having what we call the sodium potassium pump. Active transport here. So are you using now? Now, under active transport, we are using energy to take something in. Are you there? And it can be in three methods: symport, antiport, or what? Or uniport. Even if it is symport, it's going in the same direction. If it's antiport, it's going in what? Different direction. And if it is uniport, what happens? One molecule is moving in, one molecule is moving out. So are you getting something? And there are different examples of that. Are you there? But the major thing that gives about active transport are your carrier proteins. Okay? Carrier proteins. Which are your integral membrane protein. Why? Because they are the ones that cut across what? The membrane. We look cut a lot in So, and when it cuts it, something can enter, something can what? Can go out. So that is very something. We go far. What about chemistry? Oh my God. I'm serious. And please, I would advise everybody, whatever topic you are reading, watch a lot of YouTubes. I'm serious. Watch a lot of what? Of YouTubes. You may not really understand the vasodivan that you are coming up and down, are you there? Or your Quesadilla or your chorizo or your actors. But when you watch a lot of YouTube that simplifies these things, when you read them, it becomes more and more simple. You know, I like to watch a lot of YouTube. I have about 4,000 YouTube videos on my phone. I like to watch YouTube a lot because I don't like very so simple. Someone that you understand. It's only nursing students and some over-sabi students ó gbé atlas síwájú, ó ti gbá ara anatomy textbook síwájú, maybe rose and reason, ó ti pé jàpá, ó gbé síbí, ó mọ̀ kálé, ó mọ̀ fìyẹ́lé, ó fìyẹ́lé tó fẹ́ parẹ́, ó fẹ́ yí lórí ní, I can't do it to me. When I was in school, they don't know how to read. They must pay where it's told you. Now they say photocopy. Maybe 2 pages. We will call it. When they say photocopy 2 pages here, back to back. Bro, I come. Bring them here. But I'm not carrying the book. I didn't even they play. Master for here. And now, I don't know exactly what you play. Thank you for that. Now, let's move on, please. So that's what it was. Sulfated what? Sulfated sugar. Okay. Another your sulfated sugar, you can now be under sulfated glycolipids. Are you there? Sulfated what? Glycolipids. So your glycolipids can be what? Can be sulfated. That is addition of what? Of sulfur groups. You know what I'm saying? Another one is your phosphate. What I say? Phosphate. That is your phosphorus, P. P is another element that can be attached. That's you know. And you mostly see it in your DNA and what? And RNA. Are you there? For example, now, when you talk about phosphate sugars, what I call it? Are you there? An example includes things like your ribose 5-phosphate, which is found in RNA. Are you there? Or your deoxy ribose 5-phosphate that is found in what? DNA. So these are examples of your what? Of your phosphate sugars. Do you understand? Your ribose 5-phosphate, your deribose 5-phosphate that is found in both RNA and what? And DNA. Do you understand? So are we getting something like this? Hope is not going too far. Hope is going simple and simple and simple and simple and simple. Is that a biochemistry manual? Is that a biochemistry manual? Let me see. I usually like to use what they give in class to actually. This is PCH2. Do you have the PDF of this? Do you have the PDF? I don't like. Or say over here, Shoma Bumi. Don't know print me. Bumi now. For me print, a little bit printing. So call you 500. Níbo òṣèlú tó bẹ̀ fẹ́? Níbo èlò print?
1,500.
Èlò print? Èlò print? How are you printing? What is
That's the price for it. 1,500.
where is the print? There is a print for the data center. Yes, I'm serious. And now, printing. I don't know, but there is a print for me. Data center. We are going to put your tape on. No, me, where I used to do my own printing. I'm sure I can even recommend you to do that. But this was business, though, but send it to me.
It's BCM, not BCH.
Okay, it's BCM.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what we are doing.
You will notice that most of the I'm saying are also included. So send that particular stuff to me. Yeah. Okay. Yes, ma'am. No. BCS is for College of Science. BCM is for College of Earth Sciences. The topics that are doing in BCM is related to carbohydrates, is related to proteins, and what? And water. You guys are doing cells, carbohydrates, proteins, enzymes, so on and so forth. Topic you guys are doing almost like 10 to 12 topics about chemistry. So College of Earth Sciences is more tougher. BCM 2, I can say the price tag is different. BCM 2 is more tougher than BCH 2. When you're done with supervising and protein, what's fine? You guys, when you're done with supervising and protein, you still do lipids, you still do nucleic acid, you still do enzymes, you still do vitamins.
Said that.
No, sciences.
I didn't get that.
I don't know, and you that get cancer, you need to do anything. So, ekpele, ekpele. It's not pure getting that, it's just straight. Straight. Don't know, busy, I'm here, one doom. Oh, it's very nice, bossy, I want carbohydrate, lipid, nucleic, shit. I know what I'm saying, man.
So also, your
Biochemistry. In Abalajo, I'm taking math, I'm taking chemistry, I'm taking physics. Oh, Abalajo, man.
so of course you have to love
And I now read all those ones in school. I never even studied mathematics in school, I just studied physics in school. The only thing I can still say I studied with biochemistry is chemistry because I did chemistry and biochemistry throughout the rest of my life. But, oh yeah, what about physics? What about this and that? What about geography? Yes. So, there's nothing there now. It's something you have to know.
It's only for men.
I don't like it. I don't like it. No, I don't like it. There are female biochemistry lecturers in this place.
No, like the physics of my life.
Why? Why is it for men?
Because it's tough.
Are you saying that women are not supposed to be doing tough courses?
Yes, now.
Do you agree with that? So, okay, then what's your school then? Biology.
Because anatomy, yes.
And the problem is that, to be honest, though, it is now ladies that are actually leading good. But the percentage is just low. That's just the problem. When you look at 100 successful people in Nuko, probably you find like 10 women there. They find 90 boys. So, and they therefore the better people. You think the boys are sleeping? They play. Olori ile, value of the house, they will be sleeping, they play. Now, but the problem is that we need more of ladies out there to actually do things. I'm serious. To be honest, I was like, can't I see a female that can actually take physics? I've not seen it before. And it's, yes, female that's taking physics.
Then they
So, that.
yes.
We need people like that. It's rare.
No, not in this economy. Yes, now.
That's the problem. I know it's economy.
Countries had already, I want us to
So how will you solve the problem of the economy if you don't?
physics. That's like life is there.
The thing is that you know the problem is I was down to watch some YouTube videos, and during that YouTube videos, I saw a man and he was explaining physics. And when he was explaining, it wasn't theoretical anymore. He was using practical explanation. And I don't understand that. Fine, we studied physics. Man, worry, you don't know that, and I don't know that there are side hustles in this economy. Your HOD can be only you know and they play. And that's hard. They play. So, and the major thing I discovered was the fact that what we actually learn, we don't practice it. And that's why we don't actually value the information we have. It's not because of the economy. I'm serious. The same pieces that we studied, the same pieces that some people studied, and they're making that electronic cars. I'm sure the same law that we studied is the same law they studied. And to be honest, let me not teach you the funny thing. You think that the system, the educational system in the United States is very, very good, right? But let me tell you something. You need to build on yourself. That's the major thing. The only thing they have there is just access to facilities. Not because they are good teachers out there.
So you ask us to build ourselves, which facilities? Telling you know that
Okay, can I continue, please? No. I cannot advise them anymore. Please, don't be learning. It's not like us. Learn how to make pop do the job. Okay, that one is hard. So, but fine of pop and teaching and for this
No.
So that what are you saying?
Cooking is not only for women.
Eh,
What the physics is not only for women.
I don't cook at home
Why?
because I don't like it. Not because I don't love it.
It's your choice.
So, do you know what I'm saying? So because I don't like to cook, we will not say that okay, cooking is for ladies. No. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I don't like it, I will like it for 2 hours. Right? And then I will write it for 2 minutes. I don't want it. Now, listen very, very carefully. Now, listen very carefully. Now, let's move into the functions of carbohydrates. Now, what is the first function of carbon?
I like to talk
Carbon.
about
Carbohydrates. Functions of carbohydrates. Not carbon.
Set carbon, that's what I'm asking.
Amen.
The one where I've got something.
Carbon back. Now, the first thing that you need to realize that carbon gives energy, right? Carbohydrate gives what? Energy. Listen. When you take in carbohydrate, right, it gives you what? Energy. So the first thing that you need to understand about what the function of carbohydrates is what? They serve as a source of what? Of energy. That's the first thing. Right here. Come on. They serve as a what? As a source of energy. Is that useful? They serve as a what? As a source of energy. Now, second thing. Are you there? They serve as storage form of food. They serve as storage form of what? Of food. They serve as storage form of food. They serve as storage form of what? Of food. They serve as storage form of what? Of food. Now, let me give you a typical example. Example includes starch in plant, are you there? And glycogen in animals. Let me give you a simple example. When plants photosynthesize and they produce carbohydrates, how is their carbohydrates being stored? In form of starch. That's why we have what we call starchy food. Yes or no? Your gari, your rice, your apple, your yam. Is this so coming back? Now, please. Why are you smiling?
It's complex.
Cornflakes. So, your cornflakes, and that's that. You can see that it's because they can store this starch, this carbohydrate as starch. That is why we can actually eat it and we can actually absorb the starch being stored. If, as they are photosynthesizing, they are using everything for energy, will we see carbohydrates short? No. Is that you get what I'm saying? So that's why the storage form of what? Of carbohydrates in plant is known as what? As starch. Now, also, note something. If you take in an heavy carbohydrate meal, are you there? Now, part of it will be used as energy. You understand? Part of it will be used as what? As energy. Now, the other part that is not used as energy will be stored in the body. You understand? And it will be stored in the body in form of what? In form of glycogen. Now listen very, very carefully. Have you ever heard of extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid?
Yes.
You have heard of it, right? Intracellular fluid is inside the cell. Extracellular fluid is what surrounds the cell. Now listen very, very carefully. Now, number one. There's a thin line between ECF and ICF, right? Which is being protected by the what? By the cell membrane. Yes or no? This is the what? A semi-permeable membrane that allows for what? For selective in and out of materials. Yes or no? Now, the concentration of this ECF must balance the concentration of this what? ICF. Yes or no? Now, when we take in a carbohydrate-rich meal, let me tell you, if you want to do fasting blood glucose sugar level, don't eat before you do it. Do you know why? Because your blood sugar will rise after eating a carbohydrate rich meal. Why? So Chinese in life. Jesus. Now, let's be very careful. Now, when I take in my starchy food, listen, my starch contains several thousands of glucose. Probably about 20, 30, 40,000 glucose. Okay. So now, let's say it's formed glucose in form of Jesus. Let's say in form of, let's say, 20,000 pieces. Now imagine something. Listen, I want to tell you something. Okay. Let's say we have glucose in this bottle. I stuff it, I fill the bottle. Listen. I want to say, okay, let's use sugar as an example. You know this granulated sugar. All these sugar don't have facility, not the big one, the granulated one. You understand? So what is not someone will or bucket or something like that. Do that, it will be very, very easy for you to put it in the tray. But raise on the floor. What happens? It will look extremely too big. And that's what's going on. When glucose enters into the cell, it's going to be extremely too big. And what happens? The concentration of your ECF rises. Hello. That means the concentration of this ECF is now more than the concentration of this what? ICF. To bat the one bloodstream balance. Right. The first thing that happens, your blood glucose level will rise over 2 people. Therefore, that's why we have a hormone known as what? Insulin. Insulin will now act. Glucose is what to buy. No, I don't need it. Glucose. Turn glucose into glycogen. We now be packing glucose into sack bag. Packing glucose into sack bag. We now pack enough glucose in such a way that you cannot take sack bag. So it cannot be restricted. And what happens? As you are converting glucose into glycogen, what happens? The concentration of your ECF starts reducing back. And that is the major thing why we must convert our excess glucose to glycogen so that the concentration of your ECF will not rise. Because if the concentration of ECF is higher than the concentration of ICF, what happens? The cell water will start moving out. What is that? Plasmosis. Your cell will shrink and die. That's why the excess glucose must be converted into what? Into glycogen. Your glycogen helps to reduce what they call what? Osmolality what? Pressure or osmotic pressure. Are you there? Yes. Now, when you talk about hypertonic solution, let's say you have salt water. Yeah. Are you there? And you put, let's say, yam milk. This is an hypertonic solution. Why? Because the concentration of the solution is more than that of the cell. That's what we call hypertonic. When the concentration is what? Is high. When you talk about hypotonic, when the concentration is what? Is low. Now, I want to ask you a question. Who can define osmosis? Movement of water, eh? Region of what? Low concentration to what? Through what? A semi-permeable membrane. Now, this is the problem about hypertonic and hypotonic solution. It is not good for the body. Hello? That's why, if your fasting blood sugar level is low, your body must act upon it for it to make it what? Balance. If it's too high, your body will act upon it to make it what? Low. Why? Because it must be balanced. If it's not balanced, what will happen? Water will start moving in and what? And out. If it's too high, water will move outside of the cell. The cell will shrink and what? And die. If it's too low, water will move into the cell. The cell will become big and what? And burst. What is that? Hemolysis. Your red blood cells start bursting because your ECF is not lower than what? Than the ICF. Water will start entering into the what? Into the cell. And where is hypertonic solution? Water will start moving from the cell to the outside. That's all. Your cell begins to shrink and what? And die of plasmosis. That is why the body will always find what they call a state of homeostasis. You do it in what? In physiology. I use homeostasis. When we talk about your endocrine and your nervous system, those are the two major things of what? Homeostasis. Your endocrine, that is your bone, and your what? And your nervous system. That's it. Those are the two particular systems that is used in what? In performing homeostasis in what? In the body. Because that's for physiology. Don't you take point? Hello, Kaplan. No, you see. Check Kolova. Very good. So, why is it that we must convert glucose to glycogen? Especially people that need the same thing. To reduce what I call what? Osmotic pressure. Because if the osmotic pressure is high, water will want to flow to balance that particular what? Osmotic pressure. Because what's the third law of motion? This is law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If the osmotic pressure is high, there must be a counterbalance force. That is, transfer of water that will make it to what? To balance. You know what I'm saying now? The osmotic pressure, what and B. Water bottle will be so that the osmotic pressure can also be higher, so that the forces can what? Can be balanced. Let me get this to whatever. Do you get it? So let's move on this. So your glucose or your carbohydrates is being stored in form of glycogen in what? In animals. Are you with me? Let's do the third one. Are you ready? Now the third one now. Now, carbohydrates are components of your cell membrane. What I say? Carbohydrates are what? Are components of your cell membrane. Carbohydrates are components of your cell membrane. Your carbohydrates, they are what? Components of your cell membrane, e.g., glycolipids and glycoproteins. I think the carbohydrates is good. What is it? Do you guys have class tomorrow? You don't know your time. Will you give me a lecture of this one? Is this always switch of on? Or it depends on the lecturer?
Sir?
Your classes, is it always switch of on?
Which one?
I don't know your classes.
Is it always sweet? It depends when the
Sweet in the middle,
It depends when the
depends on the Please, do not insult my departmental name. Colon.
It's zero. That's the
Don't worry, we'll go down. Now, listen very carefully. Listen. Now, you should understand something that in your cell membrane contains how many components? 3 major components, right? So, what are the components of your cell membrane? What is the first one? Lipid, right? Lipid bilayer. What is it? Cell membrane. What is the second one? Proteins, right? And what is the other one? Carbohydrates. In physiology, when you are dealing with cells or in cell, they will give you the percentage composition of this 45%, 50% and then 1% or something here. Resonate. Now, look at it. We say that your cell membrane this is okay. Now, this is your what? Your lipid bilayer. Upper layer and what? And lower layer. And then we have proteins that are embedded on the side, on the surface, the peripheral, the integral, so on and so forth. Now, the carbohydrates in cell membranes are not free. That's why they are very low in concentration. They are always attached. Now, they can either be attached to membrane lipids or be attached to what they call what? Membrane proteins. Now, when they are attached to membrane lipids, what are they called? Glycolipids. And when they are attached to what? To membrane proteins, what are they called? Glycoproteins. These are soft questions you can actually answer. Now you feel. Can I say it's very quiet? I don't know. It's just like it's quiet. It's quiet. And I think this place is also quiet. I like it. But it's quiet. How many of you know Atelier Mosque? You know the mosque, right? How many of you know the mosque? You know the mosque? Atelier Mosque. After that transformer, after the hotel. You know the mosque, that big mosque.
Is it inside the mosque?
No, opposite. In the mosque, that was Samuel Sandalamen. Now, what is the major function of these glycolipids and glycoprotein? Now, let me tell you something. Now, let's say this is cell. The nucleus is here. Let's say you mitochondria. And this was another cell. Are you there? Now, this cell can only interact with this cell using the what? The outside surface. Okay? Now, there are some things on the outside or on the surface of the cell membrane of all cells. We call it glycoproteins and what? And glycolipids. Now, what do they do? Now, the glycoprotein and glycolipid will allow this cell 1 to interact with this what? Cell 2. In such a way that it will allow for what they call cell-to-cell communication. Okay? Cell-to-cell communication or interaction. That's the first thing. They allow for cell-to-cell communication or what? Or interaction. Yes. They allow for what? For cell-to-cell communication or what? Or interaction. Now, the second thing they do is that they allow for recognition of cells. Okay? Recognitions of what? Of cells. They allow for recognitions of what? Of cells. For example now, let me give you a typical example. If you look at husband and wife, they have to know. Somebody said, no, cool, that's. Okay, they want to score a cool. Now, two factors are involved. The hair and the sperm. Now, know that the sperm has a tail, right? And no one head. What is the name of this head called? Acrosomes. God bless you. And this is what? The ovaries, or the head, or oocytes, whatever that they call it. Are you there? Now, listen. The funny thing about this thing is that these your oocytes and what they call glycoproteins and the surface. These your acrosomes too and what they call what? Glycoproteins and what? And the surface. When it swims, how will you know that I'm meeting an egg? So no, it's the glycoproteins. It's the glycoprotein that sends that glycoprotein right there. That is, this glycoprotein will have a complementary glycoprotein on what? On the egg. This is how they can say, this is the ovum. But here, like magnets. So therefore, it allows for cell-to-cell what? Recognition. The acrosome can recognize the ovum due to the what? Due to the what? The glycoproteins. Are you using that? Another thing, that means that in recognition of the cell here, only allow for what? For reproduction, yes or no? These are things that are in that particular manner. You check it very well. It can allow for what? For reproduction. It can also allow for what? For antigen antibody reaction. Keep up with it. antigen antibody reaction. Have you ever heard of paratope and epitope in immunoglobulin and antigens? Paratope and epitope. Paratope and epitope. Are you there? Now, the paratope is on the antigen and the epitope is on what? On the immunoglobulin. Are you there? That is your what? Your antibody. So are you with me now? So in this case now, these paratope and epitope are made up of glycoproteins. Are you there? Are made up of what? Glycoproteins. So what does it do? Listen very, very carefully. When an antigen comes into the body and an antibody is produced, the antibody will swim or will look for the antigen based on the glycoprotein what it has. And therefore, they can actually what? Interact using their what? Their glycoproteins. Do you get what I'm saying? So it can help for antigen antibody reaction, or you can say defense system. Many people know about biochemistry. If you are saying stupid questions in the exam, that the most is really bad. Which of the following functions are there is included in what? In glycoproteins, except you now be saying reproduction, antigen antibody that one. But as the company know, I read carbohydrates, I read this definition for reproduction, but as you read cell to cell communication. Oh, well, cover and look. Please, MCQ is different from theory. MCQ, you need to read line by line. You need to read in depth. Theory is this simple. Do you know why? Because when you hear an answer, you use scope to answer it. That's all. In MCQ, there's no scope. Oh man, I was thinking, oh man. What's the problem? And the thing is that they can take any question from what? From any line. What is it? MCQ still says as any OBJ now. Multiple choice question. No, A, B, C, D. No, there's no difference there. The only thing is that apparently when you are dealing with physiology, some people, you do true or false. Yes. So that will attract negative half mark. If you miss one, negative half mark. If you miss one, negative half mark. So let's say it does 50 and you miss 50. So 50 divided by 2 is 25. 50 minus 25, that's 25 per 100. You get back.
Negative mark.
No, this is not negative mark.
It's only physiology.
Yes, physiology. You can't like it, it's physiology. Do you get what I'm saying? Ah, yes, too. Oh my God. Jesus. The structure is the key basis to learn biochemistry. You understand? Very smart one. The structure. I wish we can go back to theory. This only going to cost you doing it. Cost must not be 7 years. How do the what? Oh yeah, please can I continue this? You see that the structures are very simple to draw. And let's say that, but they will not really ask for structures like that in the exam. Best to do. But they can ask you details around the structures. Or they can just say, draw 5 amino acids, put their respective position in it, draw glucosamine, all those little things. All those things. Draw starch, draw glycogen, draw amino and peptide, that's all. I think you will legally. Of course, that's why I'm here. Now listen very carefully. Now, apart from cell-to-cell this, your glycoprotein can also function as receptors. What do you mean receptors? Signals. So let's say they want the cell to do something. Are you there? It's the glycoprotein that acts as receptor to receive the what? The stimulus, or to receive the what? The signals. For example, now, when you're talking about hormonal signals, for example, look at hormones now. There are 2 types of hormones. There is hormonal physiology or hormonal biochemistry. There are 2 types of hormones, the peptide hormones and the steroid hormones. There are some that act on the surface of the cell, and there are some that will act inside the surface or inside the cell. Now, those that act on the surface will use what they call receptors. Keep up with receptors on the outside. The hormone will bind to the receptor and it will send signals into the cell. Are you there? So these signals will now bring about secondary messenger, blah 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 blah. But these receptors to intercept the brain is made up of what? Glycoproteins. Are you with me? Receptors. Receptors are outside. Yes. Peptide hormone, steroid hormones. Peptide. Do you understand? Yeah, peptide hormones. You can, yes, outside. No. The hormone, in some cases, they call it the ligands. Are you there? Because ligand is what bind to receptor. That's what I'm saying. So hormone is like a ligand. Are you there? A chemical messenger. Often deliver a message to you. Are you there? The receptor is what receives the message, process it, and tell the cell to what? To do that particular thing. Now, cells have two types of receptors. Those that are on the outside and those that are on the inside. Those receptors that are on the inside there, on one say things like phosphorylation reaction and many other things. But those that are on the outside there, they are made up of what? Glycoproteins. So these glycoproteins normally receive ligands here, check the message I want to deliver, and deliver it to what? To the cell. Oma receive stimulus. You know what I'm saying? What about chemical? Really no far. Man, it's very, very sweet. So when I'm asking you MCQ questions, I believe that yes, I'm very sure that I can actually answer them, right? Listen. So I'm actually developing your present MCQ questions for biochemistry for both the same 2, 3, and the same 2. Do you have to know? So by God's grace, by the end of this week, at least you should have at least 400-500 questions that you can.
For just this topic,
for this year.
Not carbohydrates.
For this year. At least 400-500, 600, or about 1,000 questions that you can actually use for whatever you want to do. So, by God's grace, towards the 1,000 questions. So, the career rather, and then the 20 questions a day. Have you? So, please, can I continue? So, I believe that we have known the method. Now, another thing your glycoprotein and glycolipid does is cell addition. Cell addition. What's the meaning of addition? Stick together. A cell may want to stick to another cell. Are you there? Now, how do they stick to another cell? By using what they call their glycolipids or their what? Or their glycoproteins. Yeah, well, those glycolipids and glycoproteins, they want that be gum or be magnets. So, take the magnet, eat birds. How we used to do that? Glycolipids or what? Or glycoproteins. But all we are just not understanding. Are you sure? But what you have was what is the best alive? What is it? What is it? What is what crops? I don't remember that we close to what I wear. So are we getting something? Good. Now, let's move to another function of carbohydrates. Another function of carbohydrates. Now, they are major components of your nucleic acid. Major components of nucleic acid, or they form the framework of nucleic acid. Subtopic bow, another function. We are still dealing with the function of carbohydrates. Are you listening? The functions of what? Of carbohydrates. Under the functions of carbohydrates, listen. I think that they form what? Components of nucleic acid. Now, what's the meaning of nucleic acid? I'm talking about DNA and what? And RNA. Now, for DNA now, what's the sugar present? Now, what's the name for DNA? Who can tell me the name for DNA? Deoxyribo. Now, that deoxyribo is talking about the sugar that is present. That is, we have what we call oxyribose. And your RNA is not as what? Ribonucleic acid. That is your what? Your ribose. Now, this is known as what? As pentose sugars. Can you read the pentose? 5 carbon sugar. You know what I'm telling you? Because sometimes they will not say ribose or deoxyribose. Sometimes they can say pentose sugar. Sometimes they can say what? 5 carbon sugar. That's still the same thing. Yes, all of them are pentose sugar, but they are 5 carbon sugars. I hope by now, when you are reading your biochemistry, it can become a little bit simpler, right? Abi? Oh, yes, expect lecture as you free. Hello, free. Are you giving hello? So you can expect your lecturer to be doing this. Yeah. So that's just it. Now, can I continue this? Right? Now, listen very carefully. Have you ever seen your DNA before? Your DNA is a double helical structure. What about it? Bí ṣe pé gbogbo èso máa ń yà báyìí ní eléyìí lọ báyìí ní pé ó lọ báyìí. It's also cross. It's like a stairs. It's not like that. It's like a staircase. Do you understand? Do you understand? Like your staircase, to walk off there.
It's not like this, straight like that.
Don't call it inside your chromosomes.
Like this.
And now, chromatin, your DNA is wound around histone proteins inside the chromosomes. Okay. But normally, Toshima lipids. Do you understand? Come on, you understand? And then there will now be something here. What are they? Yes, your nitrogenous bases. Now, your nitrogenous bases are here, right? Now, what forms the strands? That is this outside. Chloroform. Phosphate plus what? Plus sugar. These are very important things. The backbone of your DNA is being formed by what? By phosphate and what? And sugar. So they say, does carbohydrates form the backbone of your DNA and RNA? Yes or no? Yes. Yes. We look for backbone of the DNA strands. You know what I'm saying? This forms the backbone, your DNA strands. Are you with me? Can I continue? Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's cut another one. Carbohydrates, right there, serve as a precursor. Next function. Carbohydrates serve as a precursor. Carbohydrates serve as a precursor. Are you there? In the synthesis of amino acids and lipids. In the synthesis of amino acids and what? And lipids. Carbohydrates serve as a precursor in the synthesis of amino acids and what? And lipids. In the synthesis of amino acids and what? And lipids. Now, what am I saying here? Now, know something. There's a common precursor that the cell uses in forming all its lipid. Are you there? That particular precursor or that starting material is known as acetyl-CoA. Come on, babe. Jesus. And you guys have used the whole of December in school. We have what they call what? Acetyl-CoA. Now, your acetyl-CoA is CoA means coenzyme A. Your acetyl-CoA. Now, BCM2 is students. If you are doing glycolysis, we might form pyruvate, right? Pyruvate into what? Into acetyl-CoA, right? Your acetyl-CoA inside TCA cycle. If it's not going inside TCA cycle, you can use the formation of what? Of lipids. Now listen very carefully. So this acetyl-CoA, there is a precursor for what? For fat synthesis. Are you listening? Your acetyl-CoA can be formed by what? By carbohydrates. So that means carbohydrates can provide intermediates, such as acetyl-CoA, that can be used in the synthesis of what? Of fats. Are you listening now? Another thing that what? Your thing can do that your carbohydrates can produce intermediates, such as, let's say, pyruvates, which can be used in the formation of, let's say, alanine. It can also provide things like phosphoenolalanine. That is a protein. Amino acids. Jesus. Phosphoenolpyruvates that can be used in the formation of what? Of serine and many other things like that.
So all these things is
Under carbohydrates. What I'm saying is that what? Your carbohydrates can provide precursors that can be used in the synthesis of amino acid and what? And fats. For example, now, your carbohydrates can produce acetyl-CoA that can be used in what? Fat synthesis. Your carbohydrates can produce precursors such as what? Pyruvates. So they be shaking it, produce alanine. This alanine is what? Amino what? Acid. Or they produce phosphoenolpyruvate that can be used in the formation of serine. Another what? Amino what? Acid. Do you get what I'm saying now? Phosphoenolpyruvate. Phosphoenolpyruvate. Yes, enol. Amount we have the bossy reactions of monosaccharide. I'm going to say enol diol formation. Enol diol formation. Please, your friends are not really attending in Bible. Jesus. Jesus. By next week, you got any tutorial every day. Ask by carbohydrate, that's what you take for that next week. There is no time. So are you with me? Now, let's look at another function, please. Now, let's write. Can I continue this? Okay. Carbohydrates can also serve as a major component. Okay. A major component of the cell wall of some living things. Major components of the cell wall of some living things. For example, the cell wall of plants is made up of what? Cellulose. The cell wall of fungi is made up of chitin. Are you with me? Also, you can say the cell wall of bacteria is made up of peptidoglycan. Now, peptidoglycan simply means protein added to what? To carbohydrates. Are you there? That's the meaning of peptidoglycan. Now, the carbohydrate aspect in peptidoglycan is known as an acetyl-neuraminic acid. Not just amen. The major carbohydrates in peptidoglycan is known as what? N-acetyl what? Neuraminic acid. Came up with N-acetyl-neuraminic acid. These are common questions because they can ask you, what are the components of the N-acetyl-neuraminic acid? Do you know why I'm doing this? It's because you are dealing with MCQ. If you are dealing with theory, I don't need to go through all this process. Don't worry, I'll say that again. N acetyl Noraminic acid. Now, your N-acetyl acid consists of two parts. The first one is your N-acetyl manosamide, which is 6 carbon, and your pyruvate, which is 3 carbon. So, if it is 6 carbon and it is 3 carbon, how many carbon is aminic acid? 9 carbons. These are common questions. You can see. That's what Can I continue? N-acetyl manosamide. The map is anything. You cannot live without doing biochemistry and have a fun time. Yes, it's the truth. And that's a very writing 3 pages in less than what? People say I'm fine writing, sir. Not me, sir. Why are you antagonizing this? Why?
Actually, but you're not making it interesting. Thank you.
I can see that biochemistry is sweet. So why do you go to calculate? So why do you go to calculate? There will still be calculations where you are doing acid and base.
This year.
Yes. No, this semester. Not this year. This semester. This year, wow.
But it's not complicated.
It's not complicated. Just about.
Because it's sweet.
You will notice now when we start doing structures, you see that it's simple. Now, can I continue, please?
Yes, sir.
Can I? Now, let's move on to the next one. Now, we said that cell wall of bacteria is made of what? To the glycanal. Example is what? The N-acetyl what? Uraminic acid. Now, another thing is, have you ever heard of anthropoda? What are the meaning of anthropodas? Yes. Those that have their skeletons outside. They have what exoskeletons. Instead of what? Endoskeletons. Yeah. An example of these anthropodas include your insects, your crustaceans, and many other things. Well, what are we guys have from there? They are hitting those types of things. Means all crab means all lobster, red lobsters. I'm not talking about prawns. Prawns, I'm talking about the lobsters. Like, man, give by you, come on, you're here, right? No. So sorry. That's not eating it true. That's not I'm looking for doing that. That's not I'm looking for doing that. I'm looking for doing that. Lobsters in your meat. Because if you go to a cold town or you go to a cold town about this lobster, you can be using high value price. One lobster, 25 pounds. You now taste the lobster, finish. The day I went from that, I love this whole hotel like this. And that's it, I order food. I order and give me 2 snails. Let me use Danny skin egg. And if there's not I start for here, I will be fused the snail. How can you sell one snail for 17,500? The Iyon and everything that I ate was around 8.5. The snail he brought was 17,500. So yeah, 2 snails. Any man be seen after that to be bamboo. Mo jẹ báyìí. Ó yẹ kí wọ́n mú green náà. Ó mú green náà kúrò. Ọ̀nà ẹ̀. Èmi kan mo jẹun bí o. Ó ní the 2 snails. Ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀ sọ fún mi. Please, man, do out. Please, listen, till now, let me tell you something. I don't know. It has been part of my brain. I used to ask for pride before I die.
Of course.
I'm serious. It's been part of me because there are some things there are some prices that you just see. Not that. Again, for your level now, please, can I continue?
The H2O
Even if you have 10 million, you are making 10 million points, and you are using that kind of lifestyle.
but you know you're testing potassium in that state.
Hello, leave me alone. Now, listen. The exoskeleton of Arthropoda, for example, your insects, is made up of a particular carbohydrate, also known as what? As chitin. Whatever. Oh yeah, chitin. So what thing, man? Those who make chitin develop a kilo example. Volume. Nice to pronounce this in the way that I can write. That's what I should do. You know, maybe chitin won't print out. What's my business? I be cheating. I be chitin. Now, we are the cheap, but my KCH. Cheating. Now, the next one. There are about 1,000 functions of carbohydrates. So just make sure they are very, very good. This is greater than one. Are you there? Now, let's go again. They are components of extracellular matrix. Yes, they are components of extracellular matrix. They are components of extracellular matrix. They are components of extracellular matrix. They are components of what? Of extracellular matrix. Are you with me? Now, when you hear the word extracellular matrix, what does it mean? How will you break it down? What is it? Yes, God bless you. Have you ever heard of mitochondrial matrix? What's the meaning of mitochondrial matrix? Solution inside the what? Inside the mitochondria. Yes or no? That's the meaning of matrix. So matrix simply means solution. So when you hear the word extra cellular, and when you want to hear the word matrix. Now extra means what? Outside. This one means what? Cell. And solution means what? Solution. So therefore, it simply means solution outside the cells. Are you there? Now, your cells cannot just be there. Your cell must be swimming in a particular pond, and float. So when does it float by your extracellular matrix? That is solutions that surround the what? Cells. So that means your cells are actually suspended in the what? Extracellular matrix. Are you there? Now, this extracellular matrix now contains complex what? Carbohydrates. Now, these complex carbohydrates are known as mucopolysaccharides. Come up with what do I call it? Esoros, okay now. Oh my God. Check it there, it's there. Look at the functions of the mucopolysaccharides. Are you there? Mucopolysaccharide is under example of heteropolysaccharides. Under polysaccharide, there are two types, homo and hetero. Homo means they are made of the same type of polysaccharide. When hetero is made of different types of what? Of polysaccharide. An example of that is what? Mucopolysaccharide. The word muco comes from the word mucus. Are you there? Because mucus is an example of extracellular what? Matrix. Are you listening? Now, some examples. The first one we have hyaluronic acid. Yeah, hyaluronic acid, yes. Hyaluronic acid. So are you there? To shake bed, took the bed. So when you're doing hyaluronic acid, are you there? Now, what is the major function of the hyaluronic acid? Now, have you ever heard of synovial fluid? Yes. Now, where is it found? In the joints. And kí ni salivary fluid máa ń ṣe? To lubricate. God bless you. So your hair is going as it is found in synovial fluids. Are you there? The X what? The X to lubricate skeletal joints. It helps to lubricate what? Skeletal joints. The helps in the lubrication of what? Of skeletal joints. So I'm getting something. I'm not going too far. It helps in the lubrication of what? Of skeletal joints. Are you with me? I've almost used 2 hours. This is more than this is 1 hour 50 minutes now. When do you start to do that? It's around 3 now. I want to start now. What I say? YouTube does not lie. 1 hour 51 minutes on dots. And I promise a 3 hours class, but we not start by 2. We start by 3. Only way àti bẹ̀rẹ̀ carbohydrate for yourself. O ti lọ fà àti bẹ̀rẹ̀ na. I'm serious. God will make me. Àti bẹ̀rẹ̀. Only go to lọ fà. Now, your hyaluronic acid too cannot be found in other places, such as your vitreous humor. Let's go vitreous humor. Where is it found? In the heart. And what does the vitreous humor do? We must stabilize the shape of what? Of the eye. Yeah. Jesus. Ah, you guys. Damn. You're bad. Okay, is the vitreous humor. Okay, we have the vitreous humor, we have the aqueous humor. Now, our magic eyes they were bulge, to a bulgy, to round. You understand? To turn on, forget the eyes. It's not straight. It's actually bulged out. Listen, and what makes it bulge out is because of 2 components: the humors, and the aqueous and the what and the vitreous humor. What do I have to bulge? To define round shape. My worry, she will anatomy. But like I know another what is it do? They will remove the eye from you, like you will be there. They will remove the eye from the cadaver, from your eyes and that. They will not put in your hand. They now say start experimenting, start talking about the eyes. I'm serious. Or they will open the brain, they just give you the brain. Oh, like you saw right. Oh, I know the brain moves in 3 dimensions, the parietal lobe, the temporal, the pinna. And then you can there, right? I'm sure it's actually fun because the thing is that biochemistry that I did restricted me to all those places because they don't allow biochemistry students to actually do in academia. I don't know why. Shame. In the month all the time. I'm serious. I like to explore. Say you mukbang. Don't be me now. The plate. Say mukbang. Oh, you want to me now? You say mukbang. The plate. Why you going in your mukbang that day? The plate. Now, who are you with me? Now, let me give you another one. Apart from hyaluronic acid. The next one we have is chondroitin sulfate. Now, what chondroitin here? Àwọn yẹn la mọ̀ nínú bones, nínú biscuit bone, what they call cartilages. Are you there? So your chondroitin sulfate here, la mọ̀ bá ní cartilages, things like your bones and tendons. Are you with me? My focus. We have another one too. We have another one known as dermatan sulfate. Yes, dermatan sulfate. Now, what are is dermatan sulfate? It's majorly found on the skin. Dermatan, anytime you get what dermatitis, skin color, right? So majorly found in what? On the skin. Now, we also have what they call heparin.
Is the
Heparin. And now, dinner. Dermatan, is it dermatan? Now, that's what they call heparin. What is it? Heparin. Now, the major function of this heparin, are you there? Is to serve as is it anti or anti? It's right. Anticoagulant. It will serve as what? As anticoagulant. That is, we are dealing with heparin. Heparin helps to serve as what? As anticoagulant.
The spelling of that is it sulfates or sulfates?
Sulfates.
Dermatan.
Is it sulfates or sulfates?
Sulfates.
Dermatan sulfate, chondroitin sulfate. Our sulfate. We have heparin sulfate. Are you there? We have what we call chondroitin sulfate. We have what we call dermatan sulfate. Heparin. Yes, I think it's one. You find out what it is. Do you understand? So these are just examples of your polysaccharides. You can understand? Now, do you also know that your carbohydrate helps in defense system? We have proved this, right? Antigen antibody interaction, complement system. We have really proved that your carbohydrate can actually help in what? In defense system. That's all. Very good. Now, what's else? What is it? It's 5 already. Is this 5 already?
It's not 5 already, it's 5 minutes left.
There's 5 minutes left. No, you get it. So I believe that we have comprehensively looked at some of the give me that man, let me see if I missed out any of the information. I believe there were no functions excluded in this one. So now we'll be wrong by the first page. First page not to one. Oh. Now, listen. So, how is your class tomorrow?
This one is impromptu.
Impromptu.
No time.
I want to know how we can fix your class. At least until you guys get extremely busy again. At least we should have done some part of this year to an extent. I also want to be taking anatomy and physiology, but the tutor that are taking you guys. My problem with you guys is that I heard that you guys also having lectures on Saturday. Why?
It was come.
Because normally, what I planned before was at least to find at least one day in a week, right? Where I can be doing at least for our so when it comes on Saturday and Sunday, you can do like extensive classes. Do extensive, like what I did now. Do extensive class on what biochemistry. I will come an anatomy tutor, come and take your extensive class. At least that your anatomy is clear before. Embryology, histology, and gross anatomy, and other general introductory anatomy. You understand? So, and the thing is that, just like that, at least 2 hours class on that, 2 hours class on mine, 2 hours class on physiology. So, and it will be very, very comprehensive. Do you understand? And on Sunday too, do the same thing. And at least go back to your daily routine. This is what I want, but I don't understand why you guys are having lectures on a Saturday. Why? No more Saturday lectures, have you? Because I want this Saturday in such a way that we can start anatomy and physiology. Because tó ṣe ń wò pé biochemistry is shocking yẹn, the anatomy and physiology yẹn, it will shock you more. Yeah, so that you know. So, and I don't want all those things to happen to you guys. So that's why I'm using whatever way. So, by Saturday, Sunday, you should be able to do anatomy and physiology, anatomy and physiology. Like those things. But please, beg your rep. Mark physical class because it's Saturday. Not like a physical Saturday, if it's early in the morning. Let's not be by 12. The way that when the class is 4 o'clock. The one when the class gets for 4.
It's 2 classes, 2 hours.
All those things are disturbing your lectures. Doesn't make sense to me. Yes. So the next thing on our agenda here is monosaccharides. Do that. Now, what do we need? First page, second page, third page, fourth page. Everything is on monosaccharides. Yes. Monosaccharide is the broadest topic that not going to cover. And we are going to study it extensively so that anyway they ask you questions. No, yeah, I actually get what you're saying. Now, what I'm saying that I actually got a hand of how to use YouTube right now. So what I'm going to do, you know, I'm going to use Zoom class. YouTube is actually okay. Even in Zoom too, it's like the same thing. Even in Zoom too. So yes. So and the problem is that everybody has YouTube, but not everybody has Zoom. Yes or no? So, and the thing is that we can be doing night tutorials, probably around 9 o'clock, 10. Everybody can be home by then now. Then I can share my screen and I can explain all the things I want to explain. You will see my slide and I will explain whatever I want to explain. Do you understand that? So, and then when we meet at physical class, I will just do little revision and many of that because we need that online class that they also online. I'm serious. I'm even talking to my anatomy tutors. Okay, at the end of the day, we're going to start online classes back because there's no time again. I'm going to start saying, "Wow, shaking you say what to say class last 8 or 6 o'clock. You know what to do here." That's a bad thing. It doesn't make sense. Class was 6 o'clock. You know, so by God's grace, if we still have the time to do class physically tomorrow, we're going to do class physically tomorrow. If we don't, then we'll resume back to online class tomorrow. So we start with Zachariah tomorrow. So please go and get this up. I heard. I think I did like 12 or 11 week for myself. That's what I'm doing. Only go come up for I don't use like that. What is do that and so please find a way. I think it's 2,000 or something. Yes. Yeah. Use star 121 now. Star 121 smart data MTN. Yeah, I can. And when I get to, I will find suitable things that I can use to give to you. So please and please.
That's how many.
What's that? It's smart data. I think it's for a week. So can you imagine? 11 gig years, so my 21 gig. The data, why I did that 11 gig? I explained the data I'm using almost every day. I use about 4 to 5 gig almost every day. So why am I using so much more data? I always can buy the bigger one. By then, you have to invest 7 days. So please and please, make sure we continue. What I did today is an eye opener. Please.
It's a lot.
This game is not to be joking with. I'm serious. Whoa. Go and ask medicine students. Tomorrow to BCFA course. Or no man feel they do me. ẹlòmíì báyìí lédo ọmọ orí 150C. I'm serious. Ọmọ fìlì ẹ̀gbọ́n ni gbọ́n àṣẹ 200%. Second semester yìí tí wọ́n gba ìsọ́ọ̀sì ẹ̀yìn ọkọ̀ rẹ̀ rìn yìí ló ń bọ̀ níbẹ̀ yìí gbọ́n àṣà.
Why do we get like that?
Lẹ́mi fẹ́ràn àti ìjọba mo sọ̀rọ̀ lọ́tọ̀ gbọ́n àṣà ló pàtàkì gbọ́n àṣà. Bọ̀bọ̀ yìí báwo ni bísẹ̀sì mẹ́rin náà kò máa rìn ìgbà. Báwa ti mọ̀ nígbà yẹn láti ẹ̀yọ́ ti kò rí àgbà àjọ. I'm serious. They'll tell you. And do you know why people don't usually go for business tutorial? Because they won't teach you. So you won't know. That's the problem. Because to my point, share my opinion. So you need better. Tell all your friends. I even want to like do it such a way that probably when you guys have class. In such a way that probably when you guys are there, I can take a class like 30 minutes before your lecture starts. So that I can open some people's eye to biochemistry. But boy, tó o bá fi ṣeré, I'm serious. Especially people in MLS, anatomy, physiology. Tó o ṣe BCM 201, o wá ní ṣe 203 that day. So I wish we can actually fix something like that. Okay, Emma, from okay. So time, Emma, very new. I feel everybody will just get 30 minutes before that time. So I'll just enter, do all of 2 things, leave out, at least to open people's eyes. Because people are not really doing this. I'll ask them, and they go, what's it, Papa? Oh, Shekini. Someone was telling me, I've read about 80% of anatomy. This semester, wow! But Peter, I think gross anatomy. Upper limb low. Well, if you have to study upper limb low, last one, it can take you 4 years. Yes, upper limb is a course, like a course of its own that they used to study. So they want to. Don't you know that there are different fields in anatomy? That some will be specialized. It's because in Nigeria, there's no value for anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. That's why they are just doing everything scatter. Normally, you should be specialized on the core. Only the only convert was specialized in what study only for 4 years. And the place. That's why you see some of cranium anatomies. You see some there. If it's there, that any problem with there, you call them from an exam. There are anatomies. When surgeons want to actually do anything surgery, they will call the anatomy to come and first interview whatever they want to do. They will tell them the ups and downs before the medical starts. Because medicine and anatomy are not the same. If an anatomy harm on the bone, a medical doctor cannot do it. Open it. We don't have expression. What I said, anatomy, this is all. So I need to stop my live streaming now. End stream. Nice.